Welcome to the School of American Engineering.
Alright, here we go. So, I'm here. Go ahead. We're going to fully disassemble my engine. And we're going to find out why it locked up the last time I rode it. Also, this is going to teach everybody who basically, this is like 85% of the engines that you could purchase on eBay or Amazon or even BikeBerry or whoever you get your kit from. This is the basic engine. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to disassemble the basic engine. I'm not doing any kind of high-speed modifications, porting, or any of that kind of stuff. This is for the beginner, which I was at one time. And I want to help that beginner out, know what he's dealing with, then decide if he wants to upgrade to all of the aftermarket modifications that they have out there. And some of them are pretty good, some of them are full of it, you know, but this is the basic engine. Like I said, what happened, this was my this was the engine that came off the bike that is now electric. That originally was gas, that is basically Opaline that you've seen online, that has the jack shaft kit. Shaft kit. Everybody thought I didn't know it was a jack shaft kit. I have already taken some parts of it because I wanted to see if I can, why my chain was locked up. So the cover, as you can see, this cover right here, I'll put it under this camera or even that camera. This is your basic cover that has the clutch handle in it. Okay. Let me get it a little bit closer to the screen. You know, has the basic clutch handle in it. And basically what it does, it's flat. And when you squeeze the clutch, it pushes this little thing right here. That is just a little nub that comes out, a little metal nub. That also can't get it to fall out right now. But there's a ball bearing in there that you have to pay attention to. So that's why I'm showing you these parts. When you take your clutch cover off, the one that has the chain that sometimes get caught under there and different things. There's a ball bearing in there that you want to pay attention, that you pull it out, and this little metal pin out. Okay, I'm going to go find something to get that out with because I don't want to lose that bearing. Well, I know it's there and I'll show it to you later as I get to it. Okay, so like I said, I just wanted to show you that because it was already removed. But what I'm going to start with is the head. Alright. Now, I want to explain something too from the beginning. When these kits come, the original kit, all of the screws are cheap. every single screw that puts this thing together are cheap. That's why I go to my local hardware store and I replace all of the screws with American steel screws. I mean, because, you know, hey, it's America, man. You know how we do it anyway. So, and a lot of the screws that come with it are normally, it has a head on the top of it that tightens down into the body of the bottom of this engine. Anyway, yeah. So, I like to use an all thread, you know, because this part is what always seems to strip whenever you tighten it too much at the top of the engine. Whenever you tighten this down too much, this part right here is part that always, that's why I have one of these now, is because the screw stripped out in the hole, which, you know, some people say, oh, well, you can re-thread it, blah, 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 blah. Everybody always got a fix for something, and it works for some people, and you can. But that is the part that I've always had the most problems with, because once this engine heats up, the cheap metal that they use in China usually weakens around the screw, and then it strips out, okay? So that right there is definitely why I'm going to explain, do not over tighten it. You just want to get your head on there snug. Tightening it will not give you more compression. All it's going to give you is a very, very tight head that hopefully will not gather too much heat and send it to this part of the engine and end up stripping the screw, which then will allow you to have air loss, in which will then you will lose compression by over tightening. So that if you notice mine, like I said, I've got the all thread screw inside, and then I've got the 4 nuts that are actually the wax nuts that you know, with the are nylon coated nuts, so that it sort of locks that screw as I tighten it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove those 4 screws and the spark plug that's sitting in there. DJ, just give us some music to go to with this. Oh yeah, by the way, most of these engines out of the box, depending on your weight, is a maximum speed of really speed 30 miles per hour. Because this is, hey. Whoa. Why aren't you in channel 2? So, I'm back. I don't know why that microphone stopped. I'm hoping that I didn't lose much of anything. Yeah, I hope I didn't cut out in my little improv speech at the beginning and everything. But anyway, alright, so removing the spark plug. While I got this spark plug out, I don't know what they did in China, but for some reason, I'm gonna learn. Like I said, that's why I'm not really talking about the aftermarket stuff. I'm trying to stick with the basic kit, because as is, the engines seem to run faster with what they come with. The spark plug they use in there, and the head that it comes with, all of that. That's when I got the fastest speed out of my engine. So when you start getting into modifying it, that's a loophole or a tornado or whatever you want to call it. That, man, it's never ending. Because then you're fighting most of the time trying to get back the original speed that the thing even came with. Guys, teach your kids millimeters. I know we use inches and all of that, and half and fourths and sixteenths here in America. But most of these engines are based in millimeters. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Alright, so I have removed the head. Nothing to do under there. So, I mean, this, and okay, while I'm here, we're going to talk about heads a little bit. A lot of people say this one's crap, you know. If you're trying to do high speed and different things, I can see why it would be. Is because the more space you have on your head, the more surface that you have on this head, the more of the heat that it will absorb, preventing it from sending that heat down to this part that then will weaken and loosen the screws. Okay, so yeah, bigger heads are better. You know, hey, bigger's better. That's what they say. But again, I was not trying to build this bike for speed. It was cute to me, and it was easier to fit with only notching out a little piece of it on my Mongoose hitch bike that on Opaline. It was easier to install it with this head. The bigger head would not have fit. You know, a lot of people try to mount. What they do, they say that what you could do is offset the engine so that the head sits to the right. But I'm a balanced guy. I want my stuff centered in the center of the bike for balance. You know, if it's sticking more on that side, then it means like I probably would have to have a longer pedal crank arm or something on that side where I'll be riding, you know, all weird like that, you know, something. I didn't want to do none of that, okay? So this one made it fit, okay? The original head would probably fit. So yeah, if you leave it like it is, it probably would fit because it's less surface, less space. And it's meant to do really 22 to 25 miles an hour for less than 30 to 45 minutes for a continuous time. You know, that's the specs of these engines. All right. Now, one thing I like that they sell that's aftermarket is in between the head and this, I get the copper gasket, because what it does, it helps that transfer of heat, because this is the area where the explosion happens. This is where everything's really created. The pressure, all of that is on this side. You know, down there, that's really the engine just cranking its ass off. Up here is where that poof is coming from and everything in the top of this engine. So, and so there's a lot of heat transferring between the fins on there and the head, you know. And I know somebody's gonna tell me, hey, that's called a, shoot, right now, I don't know. And I'm trying to just, I know what it's called. I just can't remember right now. I'm 54 years old, and yeah. So, but anyway, and it gives a good, it gives a good seal and solid. You know, it doesn't weaken or change its connection to the engine. So there we go with the head. All right, so now I'm going to remove the hole. Okay. Yeah, all of this has been on here for a while. I put this engine up a long time ago. So it's pretty tight on here. don't want to beat on it too much because, like I said, it's cheap metal. Cheap metal. Now, another thing about these engines, I actually went to the hardware store and bought automotive paper because the paper gaskets they use, again, are as cheap as the screws they use. So all I use their paper gaskets for is for the template to make real gaskets. So all of these I cut myself out of regular gasket material. And we're gonna get in more into, and even this, I don't even use these anymore. I actually use liquid automotive gasket between my engine, and I'll show you that as I take this apart. Okay. But yeah, as you can see, I have not gotten to that problem yet. I haven't found it, so that means most likely it's somewhere in the clutch. Alright, so to remove the piston head, there's two little bitty pin circles in there. And like a lot of times, I will go back and you'll most likely see the actual name come up in the corner of these parts. Right now, verbally, I can't remember, and all I know is it's a little pin. Take me a pair of needle noses. You know, get down in there. Get that one out. That's one. Still trying to knock that ball bearing out of here because I don't want to lose it. It falls out when you don't want it to fall out. Okay, but it's probably a lot of gook and grease in the way that's keeping it down in there. All right. Okay, so there's two of those, and then the center just slides all the way through. And there you go. There goes the head. All right, now, while we're on these things, the two rings that are on here, the two rings, when you're putting this back in, you have to make sure that they align. You know, there's a little nub in there that this one aligns on that side, and this one is pretty much on the opposite side. Yeah, somewhere over there. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? But anyway, yeah, that's what you look for. You gotta make sure that they're lined up. The one there, and the other ones, yeah. So then they squeeze together at that point. Oop, they squeeze together. Here's one here, the other one's here. And that's the only way you can squeeze these enough to fit back inside the cylinder. The cylinder! The master cylinder. Okay. Yeah. So the only way to fit in there is when you line those up. And then it'll go in, you know, without a problem. Okay. Now. Like I said, I'm not going to get into porting, But I will explain that again. These are made in some mold factory somewhere in China where the mold might leave a little bit of burr that you deburr off of it inside the holes and different things. I'm going to remove, I also have a reed on here. And really a lot of these things, they didn't really make that big of a difference on it. But the reason I didn't mind adding a reed on this side, and I also had this little cute thing on this other side, is because I called myself adding more surface to absorb the heat by having these little gadgets on there. But they made no difference to speed or any other added value than looking cute on my engine. The reed, I think it did something. I mean, yes, like I said, it's really for the blowback. Engines, when they create the explosion from the exhaust, there's a blowback that from the explosion that basically the reed closes to keep that from blowing back into the carburetor. All right. Just in case, kids, you don't know, these are Allen keys. And I use USA steel screws that have Allen heads. And this ain't to knock the guys in China. You know, like I said, they the ones that invented the engine and are selling the engine. So this is just to explain that we've got standards that they don't have with their metal. This reed still looks good too. Wow. Wow, I won't have much to fix on this. So, but what I do is, like, inside this hole, just make sure there's no little lip from the metal hanging up that, and all it will do is close the amount of gas that will flow through this. You know, it's like having a block in there. You block it, it won't flow. Okay? All right. So we got the cylinder, the head loose. I'll throw that in here. Where's my center part? Yeah. Oh, there it is. That's the center of the cylinder. Okay. And this is what I do. I bought these little trays so that I could separate my parts and the parts, the screws that go with them and everything. So that way you don't mix them up. Yeah. Because it's a lot of parts to turn around and remember after you done took this thing apart. Okay. Alright, so. Now. This is where the beep, 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 the magneto that sends the current to the spark plug is located. Mine's looks different because I have a pull start. And the reason I have a pull start is because when you use the jack shaft, you won't be able to pedal start. I mean, you probably, I don't know. It's hard as hell to do. It really was hard as hell to do without a jack shaft. And one morning it was just too cold, you know, to sit there and I mean, I pedaled almost 2 blocks and I almost fell out trying to start my engine. So I said I had to give me a pull start, man, because then I could start it up in my warm garage real quick and then take off on it. So that's why the pull start became in place. So this engine, you have to attach this part right here, which then connects to the inside of the pull start. And that's how it runs. They have 2 different models of these. Okay, I want to warn you that there's one that this component inside that attaches to the other part of the engine that is going to pull from. They have a plastic version that's crap. Okay, and this is the metal one. So when you're purchasing that pull start, look to see if the internal is metal. It's bad enough that the string they use is not even that heavy of a gauge string either. So if you turn around and make your engine a really high compression engine, you'll most likely break this rope or the head or the pull that is on it for. That's why I got a 3D printer. I mean, like you've seen in my electric bike. So I 3D printed me a little, power to the people fist, and that was my pull start. I mean, hey, that's what I wanted to do. That was my bike, man. You know what I'm saying? I get mad over stuff. Oh, ooh. See, this was another part. Let's go back to the cylinder. To the piston. Inside the piston, everybody knows this is the arm that's connected to the piston. Inside that piston is the bearing, which slides on here. Okay, so you gotta have that in there because this is what cranks when it's going around and around and up inside. And that's what's inside of this piston in the center. Okay, so here's the inside of the piston. This is the pin that's going through the piston. Well, you slide it halfway in there. You gotta stick the bearing on. And then that's when you put it in there and put the two little pins on it, which we'll go through that on the assembly side. This is just a strictly disassembly of the engine. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to remove the component that's from the pull start. I've always had problems being able to see which way this magnet goes. Because if you put this magnet in backwards, you will not get it to spark. And they explain on other things that there's like an angle that it sits at, which is, I want to say 15 degrees counterclockwise is where it sits at with the engine cranked. But what I did before I removed my magnet, I mark it with a Sharpie so that I remember which side was up, because that's very important. It's very important. I guarantee you will not start that engine if this is flipped on the wrong side. And actually it's easier to remove if you take the magneto off first. Oh yeah, I did that, huh? Okay. So I was worried about losing compression and different things. So, and the magnetos are pretty cheap too. So what I did on mine, I actually, if you look closely, I actually got a heavier gauge wire and soldered it to the coil, because the wire that they have is, like I said, it's something like 24 gauge, real thin stuff, and I don't know. I've never been able to really get it to run lights off of it, because it's not a 12 volt, a regular 12 volt. It's like an alternating 12 volt. So it needs some other kind of circuit to do all that. And it's better if you just use an external battery, because trying to run lights off of it and all of that just drains the power from the engine. And nobody wants to be drained. So yeah, mine is a little bit hard to get it loose, but there we go. So yeah, here's the coil. Like I said, it's part, and like I said, I just desoldered the little cheap wire that they had on there, and added some good wire. You know, give me a better connection. Uh-oh. Where did it go? There's a key to this. Which I don't see. Did I just drop it on the ground? Oops. Or it's stuck on the magnet. Where's the magnet at? Oh, here it is. It's stuck. Alright, so to hold this magnet in place, there's this little bitty key that sticks in the shaft there so that it keeps the magnet in place. Alright. I'm gonna go inside real quick to go get me another Sharpie that I thought I had out here. Alright. Like I said, I really haven't found any specific markings or anything. I know when it's up, it actually is clockwise by 15 degrees. The back side is counterclockwise by 15 degrees. So here we'll go see. That would be the back of this magnet. And this is the front side of the magnet. So that's one indicator that you could try to go with. But I just mark mine with a marker. And that way, I'm going to put it back exactly like I took it off. This right here is an aftermarket part. And it basically is a, you got a seal right there. And that's where you can lose compression at. And basically, this helps the seal sit. So this is an aftermarket part. It does not come with the engine. The engine on the inside will look just like this right here with a rubber seal in there. And that's all you're going to see is that rubber seal. All right. Let me remove my back mounting plate. Okay, so now to get this off, you pretty much got to have the tool they sent with it, which is more or less this copper head, and it actually comes in the kits. And the reason is because a regular socket won't fit in between there. So you have no choice but to have one of those. And ooh, mine was loose because I just did it with my hands. Ooh. So that wasn't cool. Alright, now, anyway, once you remove that, because it wasn't going to come off that easy anyway, but still, I don't like the fact that that was that easy to remove. But it would not have came off that end. I'm going to show you why in a second. Because that's still not loose. It's still nowhere near loose. There's a special tool for that. Just a little washer. It was giving me all that problem. That's all it is. Alright. So now, to actually remove that, it's pretty much the same tool that you use to remove your crank arms. It has threads on it. That don't force it, let it ride in there and let it get let it get down there and seat it in there as far as you can, because again, cheap metal. And what does cheap metal do? Strip real easy. And if you don't get this down in there, it's actually on there tighter than the threads, that if you don't get them deep down in there enough, it'll strip the threads and not remove the part. And a lot of my parts are probably moving easier than they would actually move coming from the factory, because I've taken this engine apart 5 times. Cause I don't believe in just buying a new one every time, you know. I want to know what makes it work, what makes it not work, you know. So I took it apart. I'm gonna keep taking them apart. You got to know what you're riding. Oh, okay, see, like I said, mine. And when you pull that off, remember, there's a key. You got to always remember to get the key. I can get my chain loose now. Yeah, don't forget to get this key out of there. Get my tool back out too now. That's it. There we go. The gear is off. All right. And you will have to use this gear again on the clutch side too, which is the one that's really hard to get loose. Hey, the gasket head just fell right off of there. See, cheap. Anyway, it's just the grease to hold the grease in that the clutch spring area. Okay, so move the little screw that locks the clutch in place. And this is that right there, this is the screw that locks the clutch adjuster in place. Right? So that you gotta have that little screw, otherwise, as the clutch turns, that adjuster will turn and eventually it'll get loose, and then you won't have any clutch, and you'll be wondering why isn't it gripping? It's not gripping because your clutch screw is not in there. Okay? Remove that screw. There you go. That holds the clutch cover. Okay, and you got your spring. I'm gonna go ahead and remove. Here it comes. Here it comes. Ooh, like I said, so again, gotta use this weird one because it's the only one that fits in there. That's why it's an important tool to keep. Don't lose this thing when you buy the engine. Okay, if you ever plan on repairing it. There it is. That's the little ball bearing. I told you it'd fall out when you didn't want it to. So I found it. Alright. Also pay attention to your little clutch pads. The little clutch pads, they all come out too. Okay, And like I said again, that's why I have like 2 or 3 of these, and they're really cheap to buy, but they are pretty much the most important tool for taking these engines apart. You cannot remove any of the gears inside this engine without this tool, because they are all threaded, and this basically pulls the gear off. Don't force it. Voila. And don't forget the key. Voila. See, there's the key. This is the one that's always the hardest, because you got to get it deep down in there. I need to make sure you clean out any debris, anything that's blocking it, because it's a booger. And again, get it down in there good. I'm hoping I can get mine, because I think I might have almost stripped it the last time. Woo! Yay! Don't forget the key. Yeah. Yeah, so this one's probably a goner. There you go. There's the clutch plate. So again, this is that special tool. Has threads on this side, and the smaller side is for that smaller gear. And basically, this is a nut that even has a hollow point in the middle of it, and that hollow point is for this pin that pushes up and down from the clutch. This is going to go in and out, and that's what like I said, so this sits over it, and when you're screwing down, it's pushing that and pulling the clutch at the same time, and that's how it comes off. All right, so, and that is really the hardest part of this engine, to get it loose. right, let's crack this baby up and see what's in the inside. Put my important tools back up real quick. Always put your tools up. And then when you need them, you'll be able to find them. It's like I ain't gonna be able to find that because it just fell someday. Yeah. Yep, that's a goner. Oh. This is the way I mount my engine in the front. I made these two little metal brackets that I put into the two holes basically here, but then I have a U-bolt somewhere. Wow, gotta find all my stuff. But it's basically a fence post clamp. You know, it goes around the frame because all of the frame sizes are so many different sizes that with these I'm able to, you know, spread it a little bit further and have a clamp go around it, and that's how I clamp to my frame. And that has been the most solid mount that I've been able to produce for this one on the 2-stroke engines. I don't know what they use on the 4 strokes, but you got to get it steady, because if you don't get it steady when it vibrates, you know, it just don't ride right, man. You got to have it firm. All right. There's 2 on that side. Flip her over. Okay, Allen keys back up. Chains. Gonna put those there. Okay, got too many tools in the way. Clean up your area so you can see what you're doing. Keep your needle noses. So on this side of the engine, there's 2 that you will be able to see, and then there's 3 that you won't see until you remove the clutch plate. So this is my clutch spring, which nothing's wrong with that. Huh. Okay, this is perplexing. Whoa. Ah! Ha ha! There we go. Let's get over here. My bearings just disintegrated. So that's all it was. Yep. My bearings disintegrated in there. That means I was flying. Okay. So this is a 50. So that lets you know I had a 49cc engine because this is a 50-inch piston arm, or 50 millimeter, whatever it is, it's a 50. The ones that are 80 have 80 right there. This has 50 on it. Which this is the legal size that you can ride without having to have license, insurance, and all that kind of stuff. You know, once you get above that, you pretty much in almost every state you have to have you have to register it, and it's just pretty much illegal to ride at that point. Wow. Okay. Disintegrated. There you go. All right, so that's to complete this assembly of the engine. Here's your two halves. You got a bearing. Got a bearing, two bearings on this side, and two bearings on this side. These are perfect. There's nothing wrong with them. That one fell apart. Which I'm glad it didn't do more damage than that in here, because that means my clutch pin is still good. Now you're wondering what all this orange stuff is. Like I said, I use automotive gasket seal to give me the best compression that I can get from it. I'm glad that these didn't fail. I mean, these are good halves. They're still brand new halves. So I'll clean that up in the assembly. All right, so let's see. What else did I need to go over? That's pretty much in the disassembly side. Since my carburetor couldn't fit exactly on my frame, you know, there are guys out there that can weld you a pipe and different thing, but all I did was, since this can hold the pressure of a dragster, okay, braided fuel line, the braided one, not the unbraided one. Unbraided one will expand and contract and do that stuff, and it will work like a boost bottle. And you'll be sitting at the light going, Okay, so this braided line didn't move. So it was perfect. And it basically allowed me to extend my carburetor out further to the side of the seat and mount it. And that's what this was for. And then all I did was cut off my regular one and put this in between to give me that extra difference. Braided line. 20 millimeter width is so it'll fit on the same mount that you mount your carburetor to. That's really the other side. On the other side of mine would have been the reed. So it basically went in between the reed and the carburetor. All right, so. And, all right, one more thing. Let me take this off. All right, so. The speed car is not a speed car. It's not fast. And actually, most of the things that keep you from going faster, there are some restrictive components on these engines, okay? Meaning as in the gas is restricted coming out of the gas tank. This cap, this is why you smell like gas when you're riding. It's supposed to allow air to come in to allow it to run easier out of the tank, okay? Well, this only allows so much air in, so it is restricting the flow of the gas coming out. The peacock that is normally inside of the gas tank, that has a little filter and all that stuff on it, is restrictive, and so I removed that and put me a solid piece, an opening, shoot, beep. So I'm gonna rebuild all of this anyway. So, and I'm not gonna even use this gas tank again. I've used it too many times, and it's got fiberglass and body stuff all on it and different things. So. But basically, I took my tank to a local hardware store, and I just found me a free flow that fit the hole, replaced it with that. Then I got me an off and on valve to cut my fuel off and on, because you don't want to let that fuel run, because this carburetor don't know how to stop, especially if you don't have it completely level. Okay. And then I got me a regular filter, because everything that they have, the filter they have and everything that comes with it, is meant to restrict this engine to keep it below that speed limit. They're really trying to keep it below that speed limit. So those are restrictive things. The speed carb itself. Okay, here we go. I've got this foam over the top. Looks like it's really like a stocking or something to keep the dirt from going in. And the reason is because this filter is restricted. I mean, it only allows so much air to get sucked in to the carburetor, which then keeps it from going faster. So what I did, I drilled some holes in it and allow some more air to get in there, and really I'm talking 2 to 3 to maybe 5 mile per hour difference from changing those components. Not major, not like I said, this is not for going 50 miles an hour and all that kind of stuff. But these speed carbs, they really don't have any adjustment other than letting in more air or not letting in right here on the side. But even then, like I said, they're not a racing thing, but that's it. So just because it says speed carb, you think you're gonna be going faster. The NT carb that comes with the thing actually works better than the speed carbs. And I've got at least 7 or 8 of these things, so believe me. I thought I might have bought a bad one, or maybe it's just that one was clogged up or whatever. No, they're slow and they're not any good. Okay, other than that, exhaust. This is the original exhaust. I don't like being loud going down the street. I mean, and a lot of people take the cap off thinking that's going to make you go faster. I never went any faster. I just got louder. Okay? It seemed like it would people call it the blowback or back pressure. You know, by me keeping it, attaching it to, I'm coming up with the name for this. I'm going to print it. You're going to see it probably down there somewhere, probably up in that corner up here. I'm going to put the name because like I said, I lost words. I'm just trying to do this. But it kept the noise level down and it still gave my system the flow that it needed. And all I did was just drill me 2 little holes right here in the bottom. Don't tell everybody. Okay? And it worked. And it works great. A lot of people don't like that, but it looked cute on my bike. So that was the cute feature. That was for the cute thing. And that's what I did for the exact. But the chamber and all those different things, like I said, an opening like that just makes it loud. That's it. It was not faster. Other than that, that's the disassembly. And when I'm ready to put it back together, I got to buy a couple of components because I'm going to buy me another clutch plate because that one has been stripped one time too many and I don't want to put it back in there and not be able to get it off the next time. I'm going to buy me a better carburetor. Once I get those components, I'll be ready to put this back together and then I will take you through my assembly process. Thanks again. Hey, please like and subscribe. You got any questions that you need me to answer? If there's something that you want me to go over a little bit in detail more while I have the engine still apart, please ask me. I have no problem giving away this information, because I went electric, because I want to ride. But I'm going to build a gas bike that I am going to give away. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do this and how it's possible to do it. But in the meantime, I'm taking us through the procedure of building these bikes. So please like and subscribe. Help a brother out. Local crew, stay in hands. Love y'all too. Bike life, bike love.